From Wakefield, it's the Nolan Car Night Show starring Nolan. I enjoy Nolan as guest this week, Parker Ford, to the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Nolan.
And welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the show. And with me is a special guest this week, known him for a long time, old classmates way back when, before it became big time at Providence College. Currently, he's greatly appreciative of him coming on. He's the one and only Parker Ford. How are we doing today, good sir?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, of course, before you become too big into the NHL, I had to have you on beforehand, so it can really grow. No, as I usually do with people who I have on the show, I always like to catch up. So how is life for Mr. Parker Ford during these interesting times?
Yeah, it's been good. I'm back here at school now, just getting my season started up. We're 5 games into the season, so everything's been going good. I mean, it's basically back to normal other than having to wear masks in class. But everything's been going pretty smooth.
How's it been at this point compared to when this all first started when you were there? Have you noticed any humongous changes, or just been not as?
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of changes for the better. We've been able to see everybody's face out and about. Last year it was really shut down. You didn't really see anybody other than my teammates. So it's good to see other friends and people around campus, and being back in the actual classroom is a big change too. There's no Zoom classes anymore. So which I like going in person. So
for you as an athlete at this point in the year or into your career, there were guidelines put into place, masks and whatnot, and I saw somewhere that the Dunk's not requiring masks or whatever it was or recommended. For you as an athlete, when you see that these restrictions are being brought down because we're into the tunnel, how do you deal with that, and how do you assess that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much that you can change. I mean, it's just something we all have to do, to help out everybody and just kind of follow the rules. And especially being an athlete here on campus, like there's a lot of eyes on you, and you're trying to kind of please everybody. So you don't really want to be stepping on anybody's toes. So just kind of going about your day and just trying to follow the rules the best you can.
I'm no science. I was never a science expert back at the old Broad Rock Middle School, who, by the way, my dear old father said that you were the best Nerf hockey player ever, according to him and Mr. Patron. So he wanted me to make that known. But as I was getting to, I don't know when this is going to be over, but for you, seeing that it looks like it's going to the end of the tunnel as an athlete must be, exciting.
Yeah, it definitely is. And big thing for me too is having fans back in the stands. My family and friends are allowed to come to my games again this year, which wasn't the case last year. So, it was really tough for my family just having to watch every game on the TV, especially like them being so close. That's really big, especially like my mom and dad, they come to every game now. So it's pretty cool for me.
Now for the fun stuff, all about hockey to my best ability. Now, like many other great athletes such as yourself, they start out very, very young in their time playing that sport. What do you remember that sticks out to you most when you first started out?
Yeah, I just remember just loving every part of it. I know when I was really young, I just loved to skate. And obviously I loved hockey, but I just loved skating itself. Like I just love being on the ice, whipping around. And to this day, that's one of my best attributes on the ice is my skating ability. So I think just that love for skating at such a young age has like allowed me to keep going on the path I've been on.
Was this something that you picked up easily? And when did you know that this was, what you wanted to do and only do?
I mean, I started skating like as soon as I could walk, basically around 2. And I mean, I think the hockey world's pretty nuts, and it seems like everyone falls in love with it right when they start. So Yeah, I mean, I've always loved the game, and I think once I got to around like the high school age, and like I started to decide if I wanted to stay in SK or go somewhere else, like that's kind of when I knew I wanted to focus on hockey.
For this sport, and it's maybe different for others. You travel a lot and around the country, and your situation specifically around the world. When you were younger and you were starting to travel for the sport in order to get better, how did you deal with that? Was it something hard for you, or was it something like this is part of it and I just deal with it?
Yeah, for me, it was just a really cool experience. Even when you're playing like mite hockey, midget hockey, or whatever, the youth hockey, you travel a lot. You go on a lot of tournaments to like Canada, Buffalo, all those places. And I mean, growing up, my only real vacations were my hockey trips. So those were really the only times I got to go out of Rhode Island. So I mean, I've always loved it, and I've never had a problem traveling because it's just a part of the game.
Now, with that comes a lot of sacrifice, I'm sure. For you dealing that, I mean, compared to now versus younger, how much, I don't want, we don't have to go into specifics, but how much sacrifice did you have to make in order to, put forth, your best and, get to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sacrifices, mostly starting with my parents. I mean, they put forth the time of driving me around when I was a kid to be able to where I am today. So I got to thank them. But like hockey is one of those things. It's usually you kind of move away from home at an early age, and it's pretty tough. But I think I knew at a pretty young age that it was going to happen. So I was kind of ready for it. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy with every decision I've made, and I know my parents are really pumped up. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's a part of it.
How much now, when eventually down the road you played some bigger hockey for the Musketeers, how much of that experience was a wake-up call in terms of, this is a high level and I need to get better?
Yeah, the Musketeers was definitely a little bit of a wake-up call for me. It's in the Midwest, so it's a lot different than the New England area. So that was kind of a culture shock when I got there, and especially I'd finished out my senior year of high school out there. So that was definitely a weird / fun experience for me. But the hockey is really good out there in the USHL, and it kind of has a pro feel to the whole league. So it was a really cool experience, and I'm definitely happy I was there for 2 years.
Now that is a big accomplishment of its own. I would put forth that statement, but then didn't stop there. After that, winning gold in 2018 at the World Junior A Challenge with my expert research. Something like that, I'm sure it definitely is gratifying, but also I'm sure it's a whole nother level of skill level for you. Was achieving that goal, was that something as a relief to, after all the long hours and miles that you put in?
Yeah, to be honest, it kind of came as a surprise when I got asked to play for that team. It kind of came out of left field, but yeah, it was definitely an honor playing for your country. And that was the type of team. It was just a bunch of kids from the same league that were put together to represent USA. And fortunate enough, we were able to win the tournament. And I think that was really big for me. It gave me a lot of confidence moving forward. So yeah, that was definitely cool.
Well, which is something I want to touch upon briefly now. I don't play hockey. My only hockey ability is skating with my feet slanted in and nerf hockey in gym class when I was in school. But I would think that at that level, expectations are high, especially if you're playing for that team. Was that moment winning the gold, was that sort of a relief for you to that you met those high expectations?
Yeah, definitely. The coaching staff and everyone, once you're on those type of teams, it's all about the country, and you kind of have to leave your ego at the door because there's a lot of good players there. and kind of just focus in on the goal. And we were able to do that with some great coaches, great players, and yeah, for sure, it was definitely good.
As I alluded to at the beginning of this, and you mentioned it, you currently enrolled at PC. What brought you towards it? What was the sticking out point in the final decision that you made that connected you to PC?
Yeah, I mean, definitely being from Rhode Island, grew up going to a bunch of PC games, and it was definitely one of my dreams playing here. And when the opportunity came, Providence is always usually the top 16 school, and they make the tournament almost every year. So when the opportunity came, I kind of just jumped on it right away because, I've always wanted to come here. So it's sort of like a dream come true.
How much of an adjustment was it for you to play college hockey, or was it just, were you used to that sort of adjustment after playing for the Musketeers and the other things?
Yeah, yes and no. It's definitely, the pace of play is definitely faster. There's better players, but I mean, the USHL and college hockey, like all those players transfer to college, so there's not that much of a jump. And I was able to be playing with some very good players my freshman year, which made it easier for me to transition. But yeah, it's just one of those things. You kind of get lucky getting into the lineup, and you just kind of had to take the opportunity right away.
Now, for me, doing something like this, I definitely get nerves and say, well, what the hell am I doing? And I'm sure for you at certain points, there have been those moments, but when you were suiting up for that first game for PC, was there any moment where like, what the hell am I doing here? And can I do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all ask that question to ourselves all the time. I mean, whatever you're doing in life, you want to be the best at, and that's something that's really hard because you know how much effort it takes. I'm sure you go through the same stuff doing this show. Like, it's a lot of effort, and sometimes you're like, what is it even for?
Yeah.
But I think it really just comes down to like how you are inside, like a competitor. I'm definitely a big competitor inside. Like, I love to win, and I mean, it's just one of those things. You got to keep your nose to the grindstone and just keep working.
Well, for everyone out there, I told you that, he was, USHL and gold for the World Junior 8 Championship, but that's not where he stopped. He couldn't stop winning, as then after during this, starting out at PC around that time, my dear guest for this week, Parker Ford, traveled across the pond, the Czech Republic, to win gold yet again, not just once, but twice. That moment for Team USA in 2020, was that more sweet than the first time you did, or was it still that same excitement that you had?
Yeah, well, actually, we didn't win gold that year. They ended up winning gold that year following, so I wasn't a part of that team. But that was definitely a much bigger stage, being a part of the World Junior team. And that was definitely, like, those are the best players in the world out there. So it was a pretty cool experience. It was my first time going across the pond over there in Europe. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I got to meet a lot of people I probably would have never met if I went over there. So yeah, I was very honored to be selected in that, and unfortunately we couldn't win that tournament. But yeah, I mean, whenever you represent your country, it's pretty cool.
I mean, I'm sure playing that level of players and competition was also something that you're like, holy crap, let me just try to make it, because I'm sure it's definitely scary in terms of those players in the size and technique. But besides that, you're a PC and made yourself known in the stat sheet early on, besides, as it says on the athletic website, the face-off percentage. But for you, what was that first face-off like? As that's one of your things to do. Was it how nerve-wracking was that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely get a little nervous before a game, but having like all your family and friends at that first game is um, pretty cool. But as soon as the puck drops, it kind of all the nerves go away, and you kind of focus in on what you have to do and how you can help the team. So, I mean, I'll always remember that first game with the Friars. We were able to get the win, and I probably had like 20 to 30 people from my family and friend group all there watching me. So it was definitely probably one of the coolest games that I got to play in.
For yourself and in the sport of hockey, if you're making yourself known early on into your time as a college athlete in your freshman year, how hard is it to then do better the following season as an athlete to sort of show that you're belong there and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is like one of the hardest things in sports, especially once you start to have success. The other team opponents, they kind of cue in on you every night. So definitely in Hockey East, especially, it's such a good division in hockey that every night is such a battle, and it's pretty tough to win every single night, no matter who you're playing. So yeah, it's hard to find success every night, but you try your best.
For in other sports, there's opportunities to score a lot and fill a stat sheet, and then some nights you might not do as well, but still put in some statistics. But in hockey, that might not necessarily be the case, where you're always scoring a goal or two or three a game, or scoring assists and all this stuff. And you might go a game or two or a string where you don't produce that amount of success. For someone like yourself, how do you deal with that and trying to perform that well, but then you might not necessarily do that in a game?
Yeah, you can definitely go a couple of games without producing points, and obviously everyone's done that, including myself. And I think when you're struggling to find the back of the net, you just have to focus on the things you can control and just go down to basics. That's something my dad always taught me, is just go back to the basics, like things you can control, like work as hard as you can, just doing the little things. And usually when you're having success, you're doing all those things, but you're not even realizing it. So that's something I try to do.
And the last few questions I want to ask before, besides the final segment I want to do now, coming up on Friday, according to the website when I was looking it up, you're playing the University of Denver on Friday, and the ranked team, number 8 for their division. Whether it's that team or you personally leading up to a game, how do you go about that challenge? Playing a ranked team and hopefully having the opportunity to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone on the team, they realize the caliber of the team we play against every night, but I think you try to bring the same intensity every single game and kind of just prepare for each game the same way. And once you get that routine down, that's usually how you find your groove. So that's what I do.
Well, before I let you go on to the rest of your festivities for the remainder of this wonderful fall evening, there's a segment I like to do, and for all those out there who haven't tuned in or don't know what it is, it's called the One Word Challenge. And in this, I give my guest, and this week, Parker Ford, the marvelous Parker Ford. I say a few topics, words, whatever it is, that best have a connection to what he does, being hockey himself, and he does his best ability to try to say a word or sentence or two that best associates that when he thinks of it. So, Parker, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, first one, Providence.
Have to go with Friars for that one. Providence Friars, baby.
Wakefield.
Hometown.
Youth hockey.
Ooh. I'd say just memories.
The great one.
Got to go with Gretzky for that one.
Alexander Ovechkin.
Oh, wow. Beast.
And my final one, Parker Ford.
Oh, I'd say passion. passionate guy.
Well, Mr. Ford, I want to thank you very much for spending time out of your day and week to help me out with this and come on this week. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great to see you. I'm happy you reached out. Thanks.
Of course. Well, for all those out there who would like to continue doing this, and I know there's tons of people out there, as I always say, like Joe Rogan. Do us a favor, subscribe, follow to the podcast, depending on your service. Leave a like, subscribe, share, comment. And if you want more news and updates regarding to the show, follow on Instagram, Nolan Cart Night, and on Twitter, follow Nolan Cart Night. And with that being said, I bid you all a heartfelt good night, and I'll see you again soon.